Greetings, Michael DDA here. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, we have so much fun things to talk about. I want to do what we've been doing for the last 3 weeks and do another quiz. I really like these quizzes. I think they're a fun way to do a review on the last week. You can kind of remember what you know, but the best part about it for me is I want to give you the key points so you can see the big picture. That's kind of my goal. So here's the first question. What relation did Korah, ben Itzhar, ben Kohath, ben Levi have with Moses and Aaron? What was the relationship? Do you remember? Itzhar was Amram's brother. That made Moses and Aaron cousins to Korah. Remember, this is all about sons of Kohath wanting to be priests. They wanted to bring things before Yahovah. They wanted to represent the people. And they're stepping out of line. And this is kind of what Miriam did back in chapter 16. No, this is chapter 16. Must be like chapter 14 or even 13. Next question. Dathan, Abiram, and On were all seed of who? Which member of Jacob's sons? Well, we've got it right here. It's Reuben. They were sons of Reuben. And I thought that was kind of interesting because look what we saw here when we went to the way that we camped, the way that we marched in the wilderness. Look what it says. We had the Kohathites right here on the bottom with Gad, Simeon, and Reuben, the sons of Reuben. Remember, we were talking about Reuben. The banner of Reuben is where Simeon and Gad are going to camp. Isn't that interesting? It seems like they were closely related because they lived close to one another. Okay, next question. The 250 princes of the assembly gathered against Moses and Aaron. They said, "Why do you blank yourselves above the assembly?" What is the word that they use there? Its answer is in 16:3. It says, "Why do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of Yahovah?" Was it them that exalted themselves? See, this is what they do. They pervert the understandings. This is how, a lot of times people want to argue Torah with you. And they'll ask a question like that. But the question is the wrong question to ask. Because they're assuming that you're exalting yourselves. Were they exalting themselves? That is what this chapter and the next chapter is about. Why do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of Yahovah? Remember, this is the same question essentially that Miriam and Aaron said to Moses when Miriam got leprosy and could have died. But Moses prayed for her. Next question. What sign did Moses use to show that he was exalted by Yahovah and not by himself? What was the sign? Do you remember? It's a pretty serious sign. Here it is. It's in 16:29 through 30. It says, "If these men die naturally, like all men, or if they are visited by a common fate of all men, then Yahovah hasn't sent me. But if Yahovah creates a new thing, and the earth opens up its mouth and swallows them up." Did Yahovah tell him to say this? Or is he just taking this on himself? Pretty interesting. The earth just swallows them up with all that belong to them, and they go down alive into the pit. Then you will understand that these men have rejected Yahovah. This is the evidence. He says, Yahovah has sent me, his shalak, me, sent me. Remember the shalakim, the shalak, plural form shalakim, is the one who speaks for Yahovah. Eliezer, when he went to get a bride for Isaac, the things that he said were as if Abraham had said them, because he was sent by Abraham. The choices that he made were as if Abraham had made them. The bride that he chose as if Abraham had chosen her. The point is, the sent one speaks for the one who sent him. And that's what Moses is doing. You take too much upon yourselves. This is the answer, that Moses is not doing it on himself. The earth did open its mouth, didn't it? It did swallow them, indicating that he was sent by Yahovah. Well, that takes care of Moses, but it does not take care of Aaron. We still are going to deal with Aaron, but there's more to go on here. Remember, we have got a rebellious crowd. They just found out that they were going to be in the wilderness for 40 years. They were expecting to be in the wilderness for a couple of years, weren't they? But now, all of a sudden, it's going to be 40 years. They're all going to die before they see the promised land, and that their children are going to see it. Some went up anyway. Okay, we'll do it, even though I told them not to do it. You're going to go south, not north. They went north to fight the Amorites, to fight the Canaanites. Many died by the sword. Now, Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, they're going to be swallowed up. That's what we were talking about in this instance. And then, I guess I got to go to my next question. What happened to the 250 men who tried to take strange fire? They tried to take strange fire and burn incense before Yahovah. What happened to them? Remember, there was somebody else who did exactly the same thing. Nadab and Abihu, on the very day that they were sanctified to be priests, literal priests before Yahovah, they took strange fire and took incense and tried to burn it before Yahovah when he didn't tell them to do it. Do you remember what happened? It's exactly what happens to these guys, the 250 men. Look what it says, 1635 right here. And fire came out from Yahovah and consumed the 250 men who were offering incense, who were bringing incense. Next question. Moses said that these 250 men sinned against their own, what was the word they used there? Sinned against their own, it's in verse 38. Sinned against their own souls. After the fire came down, the only thing that was left was ashes and censers. 250 censers. Aaron had them melted down, and he made a covering for the bronze altar. And it reminded Israel's seed of what? What was it that it was going to remind Israel's seed of? The answer's in 1640. Right here. It says, to be a reminder, a memorial to Israel's seed that no Zoar, no outsider, that's the word Zoar that we use. We talked about that last week, who is not a descendant of Aaron. Zoar, then, is anybody who's not a descendant of Aaron should come near to offer incense before Yahovah. Well, yeah, they should have learned that long before, didn't they? Or shouldn't they have? that he might not become like Korah and his companions, like Nadab and Abihu, just as Jehovah said to him through Moses. Another question. The assembly of Israel's seed complained once again that Moses and Aaron had killed the people of Jehovah, talking about those 250 men. This angered Jehovah, and many men died. How many men died? This was at the end of this chapter. Do you remember how many died? I gave this test to Carissa this morning. She got almost every one of them right. Now, those who died in the plague were 14,700, besides those who died in Korah's incident. Besides those who died in Korah's incident. Oh, we've had lots of people perish because of rebellion to Moses' authority and to Aaron's authority. Well, in this case, Jehovah has made it very clear that Moses has the authority, that he's sent by Jehovah, but he's still got to deal with Aaron. And the very next chapter is going to talk about Aaron and his authority. Let's take a look at that. Here's the question that I put. It's a little lengthy. To show that Jehovah chose Aaron above all the assembly, he had each tribe's prince write their own name on the rod. Each of the 12 tribes are going to write their name on the rod. But he goes on. And Aaron wrote his name on the I called it on Moses' rod. But I was looking at that this morning with Carissa, and it was really on the, let's do this, on the rod of Elohim. They call it his rod. We talked about it last week, and I gave you some very significant verses. This is the rod of Elohim, the rod that Jehovah gave Moses. We saw last week that Jehovah at the burning bush told Moses to throw down his rod, and it would turn into a snake. But then they called it Aaron's rod when they were before Pharaoh, and he threw it down on the ground. They called it Aaron's rod when they used that rod and stretched it over the Nile, and it turned to blood. The rod that we're talking about is the same rod, the rod of Elohim. So let's take a look at this. I put, and Aaron wrote his name on the rod of Elohim for the tribe of Levi. So we had 12 tribes plus the tribe of Levi, 13 tribes. They put these 13 rods in the Mishkan, the residence of Jehovah, overnight. And in the morning, what did they see? Do you remember what they saw? Ooh, it's so interesting. It's in verse 8. Here it is right here. Now it came to pass in the next day that Moses went into the tabernacle of witness. And behold, the tabernacle of witness. What was the word that they used there? Here, I'm going to move this over. All right. Now it came to pass on the next day that Moses, let me do this. You want to look at that study, the testimony's tent. It came to pass in the next day that Moses went into the testimony's tent, and behold, the rod of Aaron, they call it the rod of Aaron, of the house of Levi, had sprouted and put forth buds, and had produced blossoms, and yielded ripe almonds. Remember, Jehovah just said it would sprout buds. But Jehovah, he always goes the extra mile, doesn't he? Produces blossoms and yielded almonds, ripe fruit. Isn't that cool? Well, that was the sign that Moses and Aaron, really that Israel's seed, were given concerning Moses and Aaron, so that they know for sure who's in charge. All right. I want to pick up today in chapter 18. This is a fascinating chapter. And if we remember to what it actually says here, when we get to Deuteronomy, we're going to see some things that don't agree. Some things I think are perversions. I don't know how they got into what we call Torah. And I have some ideas concerning that. Is Torah 5 books or is Torah 4 books? Remember, we saw each one of these books and a Vav added to it. Genesis, and then Vav Exodus, then Vav Leviticus, then Vav Number. Deuteronomy doesn't have the Vav in it. Is it included? Or is it a separate book altogether? I used to love Deuteronomy. But then I learned Torah, and I realized, oh my goodness, there's lots of mistakes in Deuteronomy. Well, this is one of the chapters, and we see some of the things we're going to see in this chapter in Exodus and in Leviticus that is completely contradicted in Deuteronomy. So this is kind of preparation. I want you to see what is here. We're going to talk today about what is the priest's portion and what is the Levites' portion. Yehovah has said many of these things before, but he's going to make it, I think, even more clear right now. All right, here it is. Then Yehovah said to Aaron, thou and thy sons and thy father's house with thee shall bear the iniquity related to the sanctuary. And thou and thy sons with thee shall bear the iniquity associated with thy priesthood. Someone touches the altar of Yehovah when they're supposed to be the only one that touches it. The sin is on them as well. Interesting. Well, we talked about who were the sons. I think it's pretty clear. I put together this little thing on I had to expand it to do it, but Kohath. Amram had Moses and Aaron, and of course, Aaron had Nadab, Avihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Here's Itzhar. We were talking about him this morning, who had Korah as one of his sons. Okay, back. Also bring with thee thy brethren of the tribe of Levi, the tribe of thy father, that they may be joined with thee and serve thee while thou and thy sons are with thee before the tabernacle of witness. These guys are going to join them and be with them. Before the testimony's tent. The tabernacle of witness is what we're talking about. The testimony's tent. The testimony, what's the testimony? That's the Ark of the Testimony. It's the 10 Commandments that Yehovah's got in there. It's the place where Yehovah resides over his words. They shall be joined with thee and attend to the needs of the tent of meeting. That's the ohel of meeting. For all the work of the tent. But an outsider, here we're talking about the Zohar again, shall not come near you. Remember, this is the whole point of the burning up of the 250 men who tried to bring strange fire in incense before Yehovah, something that only the priests are supposed to do. They called them outsiders then too. Shall not come near thee. Well, probably you in this case, because it's Aaron and his sons. And thou shalt attend to the duties of the sanctuary, the duties of I don't remember what it was, and the duties of the altar. And there may be no more wrath on Israel's seed. Boy, they've had a lot of wrath, haven't they? Overstepping their boundaries is going to get them in big trouble. He says, behold, I myself have taken your brethren, the Levites, from among Israel's seed. They are a gift to you, given by Yahovah to do the work of the tent of meeting. How did he take the Levites? Do you remember how he took the Levites? We saw that in chapter 2 or chapter 3 of Numbers. Do you remember? He was going to take the firstborn of all Israel's seed and opted for the house of Levi. Why? I think the Levites demonstrated that they have a greater commitment to Yahovah. Remember, the Levites were, according to Yahshua, the ones who did not work for the Egyptians. The Levites were the ones who did not participate in the golden calf incident. The Levites were the ones who were destroying their brethren who had gone after the golden calf, worshiped the golden calf. They had a 5 shekel redemption price, which got paid to really the priests. And Yahovah told, like I said, the Levites instead of Israel's seed. Which is why he says, from among Israel's seed, they are a gift to you. Who are they a gift to? They're a gift to the priesthood, to Aaron and his sons. Hear that? The Levites are a gift to Aaron and his sons. They're going to help them do the work of the tabernacle, but they're not going to do the things that the priests do. I see them doing things like escorting people in, checking to make sure that they're bringing the right offering. If it's a burnt offering and they've got a female cow or a female flock, goat or sheep, that won't work. It's got to be a male. They know that. And they got to make sure that things are done correctly. They may be showing men how to slaughter properly. They may be showing men how to get the right fat from their goat or lamb or herd. That's what they call it, herd. For a sin offering, for a kata'ah offering. That's the kata'ah offering, sin offering or a shalamim offering. I see them doing things like that. They may be involved with gathering wood, gathering water for the holy place there. He goes on, therefore you and your sons, thou and thy sons with thee, shall attend to your priesthood for everything at the altar and behind the veil, and you shall serve. I give your priesthood to you as a gift for service, but the outsider who comes near shall be put to death. Hear this, we're still talking about Kohath's seed as an outsider. They don't go and do things that the priests are going to do. They don't go behind the veil. Talking about the veil. They don't go into the holy place. And certainly not into the most holy place. They don't touch the altar. They don't put anything on the altar. The priests do that. The man of Israel or the ger who dwells with them brings his offering, his korban, whether it be an olah, a shalamim, a kata'ah. He brings it to the priest, and the priest is going to be the one who burns it on the fire. Nobody comes near. If they do, they're going to be put to death. Verse 8. And Yahovah spoke to Aaron, here, I myself have given thee charge of my presence, all the holy gifts of Israel's seed. Did you hear this? If you give it to Yahovah as an Israelite, if you bring a gift to Yahovah, it is going to be given to the priests. They call it a heave offering. I think the word that we're using there is terumah, as I recall. Let's see. Yeah, terumah. Terumah. It's a present. They always add these extra words, offerings, and it confuses us. I think we get religious when we start thinking about this. I myself have also given you charge of my presence, all the holy gifts of Israel's seed. If it's being brought to Yahovah, It's being brought to the priests. I have given them as a portion to you and your sons as an ordinance forever. You know, it's hard to tell the thou from the these, or the thous from the yous. Remember, thou is singular. It's talking about thou, you, Moses, and thy sons as an ordinance forever. But I'm using this color because I want this blue to be understood as priests. This shall be yours of the most holy things reserved from the fire. Hear that? This shall be yours from the most holy things reserved from the fire. So we're changing gears. First, any presents that they bring to Yahovah are going to be the priests. But the things that are reserved from the fire of the most holy things, hear that? Kodesh, Kodeshim things is the word we're talking about here. The Kodesh, Kodeshim. Everything that does not go up in the fire. Well, look at what they say it is. Every offering, korban of theirs. Every minka. Remember when you bring a minka. That's the grain offerings, the wine offerings, the oil. A portion of it goes into the fire. The remainder of it goes to the priests. The sin offering. We don't eat our own sin offering. The fat goes into the fire. The meat goes to the priests. Every trespass offering, every asham offering. Fat goes into the fire. The meat goes to the priests, which they render to me. Shall be most holy for you and your sons. Ooh, listen to that. This does not say shall be most holy to you for you and your families. It says for you and your sons. Very important that we see this. Look at what it says. It says, and again, this is so confusing. It says, in the most holy place, you shall eat it. I thought to myself, what is the most holy place? In a most holy place, you shall eat it? What does that even mean? It doesn't say that. It says this, as the most holy things, you shall eat it. As the most holy things, you shall eat it. Well, how do you eat the most holy things? Well, they're going to tell you how to do it right here. It says, every male shall eat it. It shall be holy to you. So when we're talking about holy things, most holy, Kodesh, Kodeshim things, the offerings that we bring to Yahovah, the grain, the kata'ah, the trespass, those things are the most holy things, and only the males eat them. Now, I say that and think about this. I did my Passover this week. I was by myself. I ate the Passover, but I also had Carissa eat the Passover as well. And I wonder if maybe I did that incorrectly. If maybe Carissa wasn't supposed to eat it. Was it considered one of the most holy things? It may very well have been. This is an offering that's brought to Yahovah. Food that is brought to Yahovah. Numbers 9, remember, called it the offering of Yahovah. The man who does not bring the offering of Yahovah at the appointed time shall bear his own sin. Is that like a kata'ah offering? Is that like a Hashem offering? Well, it doesn't say it outright anywhere. But I wonder if that just might be the case. Certainly does not say in the most holy place you shall eat it. It says, as the most holy things, you shall eat it. Here they put, as the most holy things shalt thou eat thereof. As something most holy shall ye eat it. Well, here's two different translators that translated the same way that I said it. Otherwise, where's the most holy place? It doesn't make any sense. And then to say every male shall eat it. Well, do they eat in the tabernacle? I don't think so. So where's the most holy place? No, I think it's about who, not where. Verse 11. This also is yours. He said, the heave of their gifts, all the wave. What do they use for that? I forget what it was. Also yours is the present of Israel's seeds. This is 18:11. Also yours is the presents Israel's seeds have given in the form of a wave. Remember, what do they give in the form of a wave? Do you remember? When we give a shalamim, we wave the breast. Well, actually, the priest waves the wet breast before Yehovah, and he also waves a thigh before Yehovah. That's the wave offering. That's what they're talking about. It's yours. But with this, since this is not a sin offering, it's not a kata'ah offering, it's not a, what was the last one? The minka. It's a shalamim. Look what it says. It says, I have given it to you, your sons, and your daughters with you. Here's something that the whole family gets to eat. Now, again, it doesn't talk about the ladies. It never talks about the ladies. Rarely does it talk about the ladies. They're practically always left out. Our wives, bone of our bone, flesh of our flesh, are left out. But that doesn't mean that they eat things just because they're bone of our bone, flesh of our flesh. That would be a mistake, because he just said, you and your sons are going to eat the most holy things. Here is another present of their gifts. Remember, the shalamim is completely voluntary. They're bringing that meat before Yehovah. They slaughter it before Yehovah, but they're the ones that eat it. Israel's seed. And the heave, the wave that comes from the heave, that present to Yehovah, is for the priests. Like I said, the breast and the thigh. He says, I have given them to you and to thee and thy sons and daughters with you as a ordinance forever. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. Well, we knew that it can only be eaten by the clean people. When the Israelites bring their shalamim, when they bring it back home to eat it, only the clean people, the Tehor people in their house can eat it. If their woman is in her menses, she's not going to eat it. If a man is unclean, he's not going to eat it. And if they do, you get in big trouble. I put all the gifts that are weighed before Yehovah go to the priests and their family. So here's something that they get to eat. But this is something that's voluntary. He says, all the best of the oil, all the best of the new wine, the grain, their first fruits, which they raise up, which they shall give to Yehovah, I have given them to you. All the best of their oil, okay? The first, what would that be? The virgin oil, the new wine, the grain, the first fruits of the grain is going to go to the priests. Everything that they give to Yehovah, I have given it to you. Here, I wrote this. This is my translation. All the best of the oil, all the best of the new wine, the grain, their first fruits, which they shall give to Yehovah, I have given them to you. Whatever first ripe fruit in their land, which they give to Yehovah, shall be yours. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. Again, everyone who's clean in your house may eat it. We don't eat things from the tabernacle, from the gifts of Israel's seed, if we're not clean. 13. I guess I did that one. Let me just see what my note says for that one. That was for thy Bikor. Bikor. Not Bekor. Bekor. Bekor is the firstborn of the males. Bikor is the first fruits of the crops. Whatever ripe fruit is in their land, whether they bring it to Jehovah, which they bring to Jehovah, shall be yours. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. Okay, 14. Every devoted thing. Remember, we talked about the devoted things in Leviticus 27. Devoted things. We could devote all kinds of things to Jehovah. It says every devoted thing in Israel shall be yours. Devoted thing. What is the devoted thing we're talking about here? This is Leviticus 27. Devoted. Here's the word we're using for devoted. Karam. Secluded. Devote. Religious. Nonetheless, nothing devoted of all that a man shall devote to Jehovah, of all that he has from Adam, from man to beast, and from the field of his possessions shall be sold or redeemed. Every devoted thing is holy, is most holy unto Jehovah. Here he's talking about it going to the priest as well. I love to see the consistency. And that's why it troubles me so much when I see in Deuteronomy things where we're eating our own tithe. We're going to talk about the tithe here in just a moment. He goes on. 15. Everything that opens, it doesn't say first opens, it just says everything that opens. Here's the word they're using, rakim. Everything that opens of all flesh, they shall bring to Jehovah, whether man or beast. Here we're talking about the firstborn. Here it is again. Nevertheless, the firstborn, here it is right here, Bekor. Remember we were talking about Bikor. Now we're talking about Bekor. The Bekor of man you shall surely redeem, and the Bekor of unclean animals you shall surely redeem. Okay, so if it's an unclean animal, obviously we're not going to eat that. If it is a herd or a flock, a lamb or a goat, we're going to eat it. Let's see who gets to eat it. I'm guessing it's going to be the whole family that gets to eat it. He's still talking about the whole family, it seems. What do I have in here? It says, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, their household, and all the men with Korah, with all their goods. Why am I? Oh, I guess this was a review. Yeah, this was a review. Let's just get rid of this. Okay. Everything that opens the womb, everything that the recum of all flesh, which they bring to Jehovah, whether man or beast, shall be yours. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man, it's going to be redeemed. And the firstborn of an unclean animal you shall redeem. This is always the firstborn male, the Bekor, the male that opens the matrix. Again, we're talking about that opening of the matrix. He says in Exodus, you shall set apart to Jehovah all that opens the womb. So it's being set apart to Jehovah. If it's going to Jehovah, it's going to go to the priests. All that opens the womb, that every firstborn that comes from an animal which you have, the males, shall be Jehovah's. Here's 13:13, it goes on. But every firstborn of the donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. And all the firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem. Well, here's the redemption price. You shall take 5 shekels from each individual. You shall take them from the currency, of the currency of the sanctuary, shekel of the sanctuary, and the shekel of 20 gerahs. So what are we saying? That when they're redeemed, that money, the 5 shekels of the sanctuary, is going to go to the priests. 16. I liked how this was translated a little better. And payment is to be made for these when they are a month old. The value fixed by you. A price of 5 shekels by the scale of the holy place, that is 20 gerahs to the shekel. This is what we're talking about. Again, same consistency that we're talking about the devoted things. Here, it says the same thing here. This is Numbers 18, number 16, 18:16. Now here's Leviticus 27:6. And if from 1 month old up to 5 years old, then your valuation of a male shall be 5 shekels of silver, and for a female, your valuation shall be 3 shekels of silver. 17. But the firstborn of a cow, the firstborn of sheep, the firstborn of a goat, you shall not redeem. Hear that? They're clean already. You don't redeem them. They are holy. Not most holy, holy. You shall sprinkle their blood on the altar, burn the fat on the offering made by fire as a sweet aroma to Jehovah, and their flesh shall be yours, just as the wave breasts and the right thigh are yours. This is something that our families get to eat, all who are clean. Oh, here, he says, all the presents of the holy things. Holy things, this was one of the holy things, which Israel seed shall offer, bring to Jehovah, I have given to your sons and your daughters with you as an ordinance forever. It is a covenant of salt before Jehovah, which you and your descendants with you and your descendants with you. These are all the people who are going to come after us with their sons and their daughters included in it. Here's how I wrote it. Every present which Israel's seed raises up to Jehovah, I have given to thee. Raises up. Isn't that interesting? Raises up to Jehovah, I have given to thee, and thy sons and thy daughters. Raises up. I wonder if that's representative of the fat that's going up. You notice that the Olah was not included in that. They talked about the Mincha, they talked about the sin offering, and they talked about the Hashem offering. But they didn't say anything about the burnt offering. Why? Because it's all burnt up. Completely gone except for the skin. So it's not included in that. This covenant of salt business I thought was interesting. Let me just finish reading this. Every present, tarumah, which Israel seed shall raise up to Jehovah, I have given to thee and to thy sons and thy daughters with thee as an ordinance forever. It is a covenant of salt before Jehovah with these and thy seed, with these and thy seed. We're talking about men with thee. And for thy seed, and with thy seed. A covenant of salt. What is the covenant of salt? I kind of pondered that. Here's what I found. A covenant of salt. Here's the first one. All the presence of the holy things. Oh, this is 19. I don't want to use that one. Here's Chronicles, 2 Chronicles. It says, should you not know that Jehovah, Elohim of Israel, gave dominion over Israel to David forever, to him and his sons by a covenant of salt? By a covenant of salt. This is something that is going to be forever. It seems like it's making it more, how can Yehovah be more clear? I don't know. Is that more, what Yehovah does, he does. But he's saying as a covenant of salt. As one of the most essential articles of the diet, salt symbolizes hospitality as an antiseptic, durability, fidelity, and purity. Hence the expression covenant of salt as betokening an indissoluble alliance between friends. Maybe it has to do with the closeness of Yehovah to Israel's seed as well. Or maybe the closeness of Israel's seed, a closeness of Yehovah to his priests. Because we're still talking about the priests here, aren't we? A covenant of salt. It is a covenant of salt before Yehovah with you and your descendants with you. Who's you and your descendants? Aaron and his seed. 20. Then Yehovah said to Aaron, you shall have no inheritance in their land, nor shall you, or now he's saying to Aaron, thou shalt have no inheritance in their land, nor shalt thou have any portion among them. I am thy portion, and thy inheritance among Israel's seed. He is. All the things that go to him, go to you. Now he's going to switch gears, and he's going to talk about the Levites. This is important that we learn these things and how this all works. He says, behold, I have given Levites seed. This is actually what it's saying. I have given Levites seed, all the tithes in Israel, as an inheritance in return for the work which they perform, the work of the tent of meeting. Remember, we're talking about what kind of work might they be doing in the tent of meeting. They're going to get the tithe, but something's going to come from the tithe that's going to go from the priest, go to the priest. Watch what happens. Hereafter, Israel's seed shall not come near the tabernacle of meeting, lest they bear sin and die. But the Levites shall perform the work of the tabernacle of meeting, and they shall bear their iniquity. It shall be, and they shall bear their, probably their own iniquity. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations that from Israel's seed, they shall have no inheritance. Here's the Levites are having no inheritance from Israel's seed. Well, they don't. As we got the cities of the Levites, but they don't get the land, do they? It goes on. For the tithes of Israel's seeds, which they offer as a present to Yehovah, I have given to the Levites. You know what? We don't understand what the tithe is. The world wants to make it all about money. But the tithe that is given to the Levites is the first fruits of the crops. It is the, no, I take it back, not the first fruits. The first fruits are given to the priests, aren't they? The 10th of the crops, the first 10th of the crops are going to be given to the priests. The first 10th of the trees of the field are going to be given to the priests. The 10th of the flock each year, the newborn of the flock are going to be given to the priests. Why does Yehovah receive a tithe of the increase of our land and the increase of our herds and our flocks? Because he's the one that increases it. It's not about money. It's about flocks. It's about herds. It's about the food that's going to be given to the priests. I've given to the Levites as an inheritance. Therefore I have said to them, among Israel's seed, they shall have no inheritance. 25. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak thus to the Levites, and say to them, when you take from Israel's seed the tithes, which I have given you as your inheritance, then you shall, is it offer? Raise up room, or bring up a present. Then you shall room up a present of it to Jehovah. So here's the tithe, a tenth of the increase of the flocks, a tenth of the increase of the herds, a tenth of the increase of the land that's going to go to the Levites. Of that, they're going to bring a tenth and give it to Jehovah. They're going to give it to Jehovah. Who is it going to go to? The priests. Let's continue reading. And as your present, you shall be, and as, let me see what I have here. And your present shall be reckoned to you as though it were a grain of the threshing floor, and as the fullness of the winepress. Oh, that's so interesting. Do you hear what's going on here? Just as Israel's seed brings a tenth of their threshing floor and the tenth of their winepress, so the priests or Levites are going to reckon this tenth that they're bringing to the priests as a tenth of their threshing floors and the tenth of the fullness of their winepress. Oh, so neat. The priests are going to get a tenth of the tenth. Thus you shall raise a present to Jehovah from all the tithes which you get from Israel's seed. And you shall give Jehovah's present to Aaron and to Aaron the priest. Well, it's going to go to his sons as well. We'll see. You shall give Jehovah's present to Aaron the priest. Of all your gifts, presents, of all your gifts, you shall raise up every present due to Jehovah. Of all your gifts that you receive from Israel's seed, you shall raise up every present due to Jehovah. From all the best of them, the consecrated part of them. Therefore you shall say to them, when you have lifted up the best of it, then the rest shall be accounted to the Levites. Just the same way it is in Israel's seed. They give away a tenth, the rest belongs to Israel's seed. Then the rest shall be accounted to the Levites as the produce of the threshing floor and as the produce of the winepress. Well, they're exactly talking about the same thing, just like Israel's seed does it. You may eat it in any place, you and your household, for it is your reward for your work in the tabernacle of meeting. Notice this doesn't say that they have to be clean to eat it. This is just something that they get to eat. So the tithe and the tenth of the tithe that the priests get, their family gets to eat them. Even if they're unclean, they can still eat that. And you shall bear no sin because of it. When you have lifted up the best of it, we're still talking to the Levites, but you shall not profane the holy gifts of Israel's seed, lest you die. The holy gifts. I don't know if I put anything about the holy gifts. But you shall not profane the holy gifts. This is not a holy gift. The holy gifts are the things that everyone in the house, your women, your children, your sons and your daughters, remember women is included in that, they get to eat it. But this is not a holy thing, but you shall not profane the holy gifts. I think he's saying don't confuse the holy gifts with the tithe and the tenth of the tithe that the priest is going to get. Well, I guess they're talking about Levites right now, so it's their 90%. Everybody gets to eat it. But you shall not profane the holy gifts of Israel's seed, lest you die. All right, let's continue. Chapter 19. This is a shorter chapter. We're just going to get through this. Well, we'll see how we do. Now Jehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, this is the ordinance. No, this is the Torah ordinance. Ha-Torah ordinance. The word they use for ordinance is this word right here. Kukah, which Jehovah commanded, saying, speak to Israel's seed that they take towards them, a whole. Oh, this is so interesting, you guys. Remember how I've told you tamim is not without blemish. We see it everywhere get translated without blemish, without blemish, without blemish, without. And I'm always telling you, it's not without blemish. If it has a blem, it's not a problem. It's talking about alive and whole. Alive and whole. Even the Passover, it just simply says tamim. It doesn't say mum, without blemish. It says tamim. I think we do that because we want to make it all about this man Jesus, this man Yeshua, and the blameless sheep, the spotless sheep, and all the caca that goes along with that theology of men. It's not there. It says whole and alive. The animal that we bring to Yehovah at Passover is simply whole and alive. If it's got a scratch in its neck, it's not a problem. It's still whole and alive. And we don't understand what these blemishes are. But this is such a cool verse because it uses both words. Are we supposed to understand without blemish and without blemish twice? No, not at all. This helps to clarify that understanding. So they're telling us to take a whole and alive animal. And an Adamah animal. They use Adam. Look at the word they use right here. It's Adam. Look how it's spelled. Aleph, Dalet, Mem. But this is Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Hey. The word that we're actually talking about here is this word, Adamah. They used the wrong word. It means soil, country. I think it's talking about color. But what is spotless? Here we're talking about the spotless. It says with no blemish. With no blemish. It's lo mem. No, lo mum. Lo mum. Lo is the negation of mum. No mum is what it's saying. That's saying no blemish. And which has never had a yoke. You know what? Judaism makes such a huge brouhaha about this business, about the red heifer. Oh, if it's got a piece of white in it, it's no good. It's got a blemish. Ridiculous. This is not what we're talking about. We're going to have lots of red heifers that we're going to need throughout time, not just one. It gets used regularly. Every time somebody dies, we got to use the ashes of the red heifer. My point is, what is a blem? No blemishes, without blemish. is usually how it's translated, without blemish, which has ever had a yoke. How many soil-colored heifers, these are females, heifers, soil-covered heifers without blemishes, which have ever had a yoke, are there in our land? Probably lots. Many, many heifers like this. We don't understand what a blemish is. Jehovah talks about blemishes when he talks about the priests. Look at what he says here. This is Leviticus 21. He says, speak to Aaron, saying, no man of thy seed, no man from thy seed, in succeeding generations who has in him a mum. A mum. This is an animal that has no mum. So what is a mum? May not approach to bring the bread of his Elohim. For any man who has a mum shall not approach. Now he's going to tell us what is a mum. Here's what a mum is. A white hair on an Adamah colored heifer isn't a mum. This is what a mum is. A man blind or lame. A man who has a marred face or any limb too long. A man who has a broken foot or a broken hand or is a hunchback or a dwarf. A man who has a defect, the word they're using there is tevalul, this is a cataract in his eye, or eczema, or scurf, or is a eunuch. These are all mum. Not tamim. Tamim. Tamim is whole. Mum is what we're talking about, without defect. Now, we go through that list concerning our heifer. Not too many heifers are going to be left out. They all have the same amount of hair or same amount of ears. They have good eyes. They have good legs. They don't have skin defects. This is not a rare thing. This is something that is used constantly, but it's an Adamah colored heifer. Wait till you see where we leave the ashes. The challenge that we have right now is we can't make a red heifer. We can't do the ashes that we're talking about in this chapter because we don't have a priest to do it with. Let's take a look at the chapter. Oh, here's mum. Blemish, defect. The word usually describes a physical characteristic that is deemed to be bad. A man with any sort of blemish could not be a priest. Okay, it says any sort of blemish. I mean, let's be more clear. Let's be more clear. If we're talking about any sort of blemish, what sort of blemish are we talking about? An ear that can't hear, an eye that can't see, an arm that will not move. That's the kind of things that we're talking about. That's the mum. Okay, a scratch is not a mum. Verse 3. It says, you shall give it to Eleazar the priest, that he may take it outside the camp, and it shall be slaughtered. It says slaughtered. Slaughtered is the wrong word. The word that we're talking about here is shakat. And shakat, kill it outside the camp before him, before Eleazar. Remember, if it is slaughtered, it's something that's going to be eaten. That comes from the word zevach. This is shakat. It's going to be killed before him. And it says, and Eleazar, the priest, shall take some of the blood with his finger. So after it's been killed, it's being killed before Eleazar, he's going to take some of the blood. What's he going to do with it? with his finger and sprinkle some of the blood 7 times directly in front of the tent of meeting, the Ohel of Moed. The tent of appointment, the appointment tent, we could say it like that. The priest is going to catch the blood and bring it to the tent of Moed, the tent of appointment. Then the heifer shall be burned in his sight. Notice we've got a priest involved in this. We don't have any priests right now. When was the last time a priest was sanctified to Yehovah? Remember, the sanctification process takes 8 days. Then the heifer shall be burned in his sight. The priest is not doing the burning. Someone else, a man, is. All the heifers being burned in his sight. It says, its hide, its flesh, its blood, its offal shall be burned. I think the offal is the guts. This word seems to indicate that it is excrement. But the excrement is part of the guts. Everything is burned. Nothing is saved. Then the priest shall wash his clothes. The entire of this blemish-free heifer is burned up. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped a verse. That's my problem. Its flesh, its blood, its offal shall be burned. 6. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet. You know what? This year is the first year that I understand what hyssop is. I had a plant that I've been using, which I thought was hyssop. Apparently it wasn't. It was more of the sage that I've used for my Passover lamb to put the blood on the door over the past 9 years. Turns out it really wasn't hyssop per se. It may have been related to hyssop, but it wasn't hyssop. So now I'm starting to see hyssop and notice hyssop more because I know what it is. But look at this. The priest is going to take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet. Scarlet, what is scarlet? We'll talk about that in just a second. And cast them into the midst of the fire, burning the heifer. These are things that's just going to be burned in. But isn't it interesting? Remember, when we have leprosy, we're going to use these 3 things. Cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet. When we're being cleaned from an zavzuv, the unclean emission. After we're cleaned, we're going to come to the priest with these things, 2 birds, these 3 things, and we're going to be clean after we use that. And now here it is being used for the dead. Same things. It's about brought back into relationship with Yehovah. We've been separated and we're going to be cleansed and be brought back to Yehovah. And all this is about that cleansing process after we're been near or touched somebody who is dead or a grave or something that has to do with death. We'll see it as we go through it. Let me read my notes for this. I think you'll find them interesting. Here's what I wanted to see. This is, then Yehovah spoke. This is Leviticus 14, talking about the leper being cleansed. And I'm just going to skip down to 4. Then the priest shall command to take for him who is to be cleansed 2 living and clean birds, cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop. It's a scarlet cloth. It's a scarlet. When we talk about scarlet, we're talking about a crimson cloth. Gets translated as scarlet. I thought that was interesting. I guess I've always thought it was kind of a ribbon, something that might wrap around the hyssop and the cedar. Binding it together is kind of what I've always had pictured in my mind. But I thought it's interesting these three things are there. Verse 7, then the priest shall wash his clothes. This is Eleazar, shall wash his clothes. He shall bathe in water, and afterwards he shall come into the camp. Ooh, isn't it interesting? I wondered, why did they use Eleazar and they didn't use Aaron? Why? Because it's a much more serious thing for the high priest to become unclean than it is for the priest to become unclean, or a priest. Remember, there's other priests. His brother, Ithamar, is a priest. He can still do the priestly things that a priest needs to do. He shall bathe in water. Afterwards, he shall come into the camp. The priest shall be unclean until evening. You can't perform priestly duties if you're unclean until evening. That's why we're using Eleazar and not Aaron. And the one who burns it shall wash his clothes. That's not Eleazar. That's somebody else, isn't it? Is it a woman or is it a man? Of course, it's a man. And the one who burns it shall wash his clothes in water, bathe and water, and shall be unclean until evening. He goes on. And a man that is clean shall gather the heifer's ashes. Is this the same man? Or is this a different man? And a man, an ish. There are no lady ishes. This is a man. And a man that is clean shall gather the heifer's ashes and lay them without the camp in a clean place. Hear that? These ashes don't stay in the camp. Why? Because we need them to be able to come back into the camp after touching somebody who's dead. We can bring them into the camp in the case that someone died in a home. We'll see that there's going to be provision for that. But these are going to be ashes that are kept outside the camp. And lay them up without the camp in a clean place. And it shall be kept for the assembly, for Israel's assembly, Israel's seed's assembly. For me. Lami. Nada. It's the water of impurity. The water of, really, I don't even like impurity. I think of it as the water of separation. Let me use R-A-T-I-O-N. It's water of separation. It closes the breach. There's a breach that's been made by touching the dead. And the kata'ah is the word we're talking about here for closing the breach, is when we have a sin. We've missed the mark. The kata'ah, we've missed the mark. And the kata'ah is bringing us back into relation with Yehovah. We've been separated from Yehovah. This word nada is the same word that we use most often when we're talking about a woman in her menses. She is being separated from the rest of the family. I put this water of impurity, separation, closes the breach. That's what it's all about. Everything that she lies on, here's talking about Leviticus 15, when we're actually talking about nida. Everything that she lies on during her impurity shall be unclean. Also, everything that she sits on shall be unclean. I put her impurity, separation, during her separation. Here, this is nada. This is Strong's talking about rejection. Kind of goes along with the separation. Here is word study. A feminine noun meaning impurity. A woman's menstrual cycle refers to a woman's flow of blood during her menstrual period. Again, doesn't really get quite as far as we want. Something that is removed or thrown out. A menstruating woman is removed from the camp. She lives in a different spot. And that's what's happening when we go to war. We'll see this at the end of this chapter when we war with Midian. We're going to go to war. And when we come back, we don't just go into the camp. There is a 7-day cleansing process once we're back home before we can even go into our families, into the tent or into the camp of the Israelites. There's a 7-day cleaning process, cleansing process, let's say it that way. Then the man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and store them outside the camp in a clean place. And they shall be kept for the assembly of Israel's seed, for the water of separation. The water of separation, for a water. What did I write? For a water, for the assembly seed, for water of separation. For water of separation. It closes the breach. That's what they're saying. It closes the breach. This is the water that closes the breach. Okay, water of separation. And I thought this is not mayim. Look at, they make it, I probably give it another thing here. Do I have water? Yeah, here. Look at mem, yod, mem. This is mem, yod. The lo, or the lamed before it, is saying 4 or 2. But it's me, not mayim, me, nada, me, nada. And the one who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. This is the one who put it in a clean spot. It shall be a statute forever to Israel's seed. To Israel's seed. Oh, this is amazing, you guys. What would you expect this word to be? Think about it. Look at it in the context. It shall be a statute forever to Israel's seed and the stranger who dwells with them. How is that usually written? It's usually written like this. The Ezra and the stranger who dwells with them. But this time, this is one of the rare places that you'll see this, and this is just more evidence of what I always am telling you. It usually says, as the Ezra and the Ger, Ha-Ezra, and Ha-Ger who dwells with them. But this time it says, B'nai Israel, and the Ger who dwells with them. Isn't that amazing? But so interesting. Usually this is written as the Ezra and Ha-Ger, the Ger who dwells with them. But here it says, B'nai Israel and the Ger who dwell with them. As I always say, B'nai Israel are the Ezra men. This is who we're talking about. Ezra. They're B'nai Israel. And he that gathered the ashes of the heifer. I guess this is just another way of writing it. I wanted you to be able to see it. And he who gathers the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until even. And it shall be for Israel's seed. There it is. B'nai Israel. The Lamed says, oh, I can go on the mouse. The Lamed says, for Israel's seed, and unto the Ger, Ha-Ger, that is the stranger that gets translated, that sojourns with them for a statute forever. Ooh, so interesting, you guys. You got to understand who Israel's seed are. They're the Ezra men. Just more evidence. He who touches a dead body of anyone shall be unclean 7 days. He who touches the dead body. He shall purify himself with the water. Water. This is actually Ha-Mayim this time. Look what it says, though. He shall purify himself with the water, Ha-Mayim, on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. Well, I ask myself, why on these days? Why on the 3rd day and why on the 7th day? Is there something more. There certainly is something more to be found here. I haven't found it. Why the third day? Why the seventh day? And does that have anything to do with 1,000 years? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. Then he shall be clean. He shall be clean. He shall purify himself with water on the third day, on the seventh day. This is the one who touched a dead body. But if he does not purify himself on the third day and on the seventh day, he will not be clean. Whoever touches a body of anyone who has died and does not purify himself. Now we're talking about men. What does it say? I put, whoever is a man. See verse 20. We'll see it when we get there. A woman cannot defile the tabernacle because she does not go into the tabernacle. Keep in mind that we are not being cut off from Israel because we are unclean. We are being cut off from Israel because we are defiling, tameh is the word that we're using there, defiling Yahovah's residence. We failed to get clean and then wandered into the residence. This is one of the reasons why every year we have to do Yom Kippurim, a day of coverings. And one of the things that we cover is the holy place and the tent of meetings and the altar and all Israel. But one of the reasons we have to do that is because throughout the year, we've had unclean men who have touched the dead, who have wandered in there. Maybe we know it, maybe we don't. Probably we don't. What does it say? That the person may be cut off, that person shall be cut off from Israel. He shall be unclean because the separation water was not sprinkled on him. His uncleanliness is still on him. The separation water is the remedy for bringing us back into union with Yahovah. Don't come before Yahovah unless you're in union with Yahovah. Make yourself clean first. I put additional things. We have no way to make the water, Hamayim. Here's the, do we have it on here? No, I guess I don't. We have no way to make Hamayim without a priest, and no way to anoint the sanctuary, no way to anoint and sanctify a priesthood. I said, bummer, sigh and cry. Yahovah, we're so disadvantaged being in Babylon right now, dwelling where we dwell. Come, Father, bring us back together. Raise up your anointed ones, your shalaks, so we can anoint a priesthood. Remember, Moses was the one who anointed Aaron and his sons. But we are in a perpetual state of uncleanliness. Oh my goodness, yes we are. Moses, as Yahovah Shalak, his sent one, anointed Aaron and his sons as a priest. Oh, I didn't realize I had that there. Moses was Yahovah's agent acting on his behalf. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. He can do the things that Moses can do, or that Yahovah can do. Moses was Yahovah's agent acting on his behalf. So Aaron and his sons were really anointed by Yahovah to serve before him. Look what it says here, Exodus 4. So he, Aaron, shall be your spokesman to the people, and he himself shall be as a mouth for you, and you shall be to him as Elohim. At another point, it says that he shall be your priest. He shall be as a priest to you. We will not have priests until Yahovah set apart men. His 144,000 shalakim are raised up. All right. 14. Oh, we're going to make it through here today, I think. This is the Torah when a man dies in his tent. This is the Torah. There it is. Ha-Torah. When a man this is a man or a woman. This happens to be Adam. Now, Adam can mean man or woman. It can mean man. Ha-Adam always means man. When we see Ha-Adam, we understand that is man, a man. But Adam can mean a man or a woman. And obviously, a woman can die in a tent just as easily. It's going to make the man unclean. This is the Torah when a man dies in a tent. All who come into the tent, all who are in the tent, shall be unclean 7 days. Every vessel which has no cover fastened on it is unclean. There is no remedy for that. The vessel is going to have to be tossed. It says, whatever in the open field, or let me just see, do I have anything here? No. Whoever in an open field touches one who is slain by a sword, or who has died, or a bone of a man, or a grave. One who's been slain, they say by a sword, but it could be by a bullet, by a bomb, whatever. Or who has died, or a bone of a man. Bone of a man, what are we talking about here? Bone of an Adam. Again, it could be a man or a woman. Or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. Well, I would say unclean indefinitely. What happens if we have the ashes of ashes? There is no remedy then, is there? And for an unclean person, they put unclean person. Here's my translation on it. And for uncleanness, they shall take some of the cremation ashes for the kata'ah, for the breach, and put on them the fresh water in a vessel. So they're going to take the ashes. Remember, where are the ashes? The ashes are outside the tent, or outside the camp. We're going to bring a vessel. We have access. Anybody clean has access to these ashes. We put them in the vessel. We put water in the vessel, and then we use that water. Here's how we're going to use it. Here's a CJB. What is the CJB? The Complete Jewish Bible. They have unclean person. A clean male who has to go get the ashes, and he takes the vessel with him. The fresh water is then added to that vessel, and it is this water which is used all week. Now it says a clean person. It doesn't say a clean person. It says a clean man. A clean man shall take hyssop and dip it in the mayim, in water. Sprinkle it on the tents, on the vessels, on the persons who were there, the persons who were in the tents, or on the one who touches a bone, the slain, the dead, or a grave. All these are men, and women too, who have been tainted, made tameh by touching the dead. They got to be cleaned. Remember, they get put out of the camp. They don't stay in the camp. You might have had them die in the camp, but you got to move out of the camp after that happens. They'll come back. They'll clean the house. What did he just say? On the tent. Sprinkle it on the tent. On all the vessels. On the persons who were there. They're not there anymore. On the one who touches a bone, the slain, the dead, the grave. He goes on. We just talked about a clean man. He says that clean shall, this doesn't even say person. It just says the tehor shall sprinkle the tameh on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. He shall purify himself. He shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and at evening he shall be clean. So even the person who's doing the sprinkling is made unclean. Is it because he's touching this water? Is it because the water touched him? Is it because he's coming into the presence of these other people? Even though he doesn't touch them, he's just sprinkling them on them. I think it's more about the water. We'll see that perhaps at the end. It says, and he shall wash his clothes. No. And on the seventh day, here it is. And on the seventh day, he shall purify himself. They put a comma. As if purifying himself, washing his clothes, and bathing in water are three things. I think he's talking about he shall purify himself. Semicolon. How does he do it? He washes his clothes and he bathes in water. And at evening he shall be clean. This is how we are supposed to understand this. The comma there instead of a semicolon throws us off. He's describing to us how to be clean. He gives the big picture, then he breaks it down. This is what Yahovah always does. Okay, just a couple more verses. But the man, again, we're talking about an ish. But the man who is unclean and does not purify himself, that person shall be cut off from among the assembly of Israel's seed, because he defiled the sanctuary of Yahovah. Here it is, Yahovah's Mikdash, his consecrated place. The water of separation has not been sprinkled on him. He is unclean. You don't go before Yahovah in a state of tameh. You've got to make yourself clean. It shall be a perpetual statute for them. He who sprinkles the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he who touches the water of purification shall be unclean until evening. Hear that? It shall be a perpetual statute. He who sprinkles the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he who touches the water. So is it the water that is making us unclean as a clean man who is putting it on the unclean person? It appears to me it's the water that's making us unclean. I said it appears to me that it's always a man that is doing the sprinkling, the separation, sprinkling of the separation water. Even the man who sprinkles the water has to wash his clothes. Yeah, this is what's going on. He has to wash his clothes. Okay, last verse. Well, this says whatever. Whatever the unclean touches, whatever the tameh touches, shall be tameh. And the person who touches it shall be unclean, and the person who touches it shall be unclean. I think it's not whatever, I think it's whoever. Whoever the unclean, whoever the tameh, whoever is tameh, whoever the tameh touches shall be unclean, and the person who touches him shall be unclean. That's what it appears to me to be. Until evening. Well, I guess we're all going to have to decide what that is for us. I think we're talking about a person and not a thing. This appears we're talking about a thing. Some translate it as whoever, or some say whatever, and then say, and whatever he touches shall be unclean until evening. I think it's all who the unclean touches shall be unclean, and the person who touches him or her shall be unclean until evening. That's what it appears to me to be. They will be unclean until evening if they bathe. If you don't bathe, you're going to be unclean indefinitely, aren't you? If the pronoun who is an it, as most translators say, then When and how does it become clean? Yeah, how does it become clean? All right, it touches it. When does it become clean? Is it clean at evening? And they don't say anything. It shall be unclean until evening. I don't know. I don't know. You're just, there's some things I just don't have enough light to be able to see it clearly. The verse just prior to this one tells us how the man can be made clean. The man can be made clean. All right. Next week, between this verse, Numbers 19:22, which is about the 5th month of the 2nd year after we came out of Egypt, we're going to go to the first verse of chapter 20. This is the 40th year. We're going to skip 38 years between Numbers 19:22, the last verse of chapter 19, and the first verse of Numbers 20. Wowzers. What happened during those 38 years? Well, next week, we're going to find out. Ooh, it's very interesting. We're going to probably spend most of our time in Yasher next week. And Yasher is going to help us make sense of this chapter and chapter 21 in particular. There's a lot of things that we don't understand. When did Miriam die? This just says, then Israel's seed, the whole assembly, came into the wilderness of Sin in the first month. And the people stayed in Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there. Well, we've been in Kadesh. That's where we're at right now. What first month is this? We don't know. But Yasher gives us more light, and we're going to see it next week. I think you're going to find it extremely interesting. And it's going to help us understand many more chapters of Torah. So be with me then. I hope you will. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. Father, you are so good. We give you all the glory and the honor and the praise. Thank you for the light that you've shown us. Father, there's still so many things that we have questions about. Please be so gracious as to give us those answers as time goes by. We love you so much. All right, folks. Well, have a wonderful day. Love you tons. Bye now.